Mary was totally unprepared for that call. It came at night. Nene, her grandmother, wailing on the other end. Uche's mother is dead. She fought. For the sickness won. Mary froze, her mind racing with memories of Uche's mother, the woman who used to plait her hair and roast corn for the village children. Dead? Which sickness, Nene? Mary finally asked. Her grandmother hesitated, her voice barely audible. The one that eats women from the inside. It started as a lump, like all the others. By the next morning, Mary had packed her bags and was on a bus heading to Umweze. The whispers of the sickness lingered in her mind like a dark shadow. Studying public health in Lagos had opened her eyes to a world of so many diseases, but nothing prepared her for the reality she was about to face. The village greeted her with silence. The streets felt lifeless, a shadow of the vibrant community she once knew. When she arrived home, Nene welcomed her with a weary hug, her eyes swollen from crying. She dearly loved the dead woman. I need to know what's happening, Grandma, Mary insisted after dinner. Why are the women here dying of breast cancer? Why isn't anyone doing anything about it? Nene looked away. Mary, it's not something people talk about. Some of them are ashamed. Most are afraid. By the time they say anything, it's already too late. Determined, Mary decided to visit Uche's house the next morning. She found Uche burning her mother's belongings in the backyard. Uche, Mary called softly. The young woman turned, her face streaked with tears. Mary, you came back. I'm so sorry for your loss, Mary began. But I need to understand. What happened to your mother? Uche hesitated and then motioned to Mary to sit. My mother had been very sick, but had bluntly refused to go to the hospital. By the time we forced her, it was already too late. She died from breast cancer. Mary felt her chest tighten. Didn't anyone tell her she stood a chance if she had been to the hospital earlier? Uche shook her head bitterly and replied, the women here believe it's a curse. They think it's a punishment from the gods. No one talks about it. No one fights it. That night, Mary sat in the dark with her phone. Her hands trembled as she read so many articles online about breast cancer signs, symptoms, and treatment options. The words blurred together as frustration and anger welled up inside her. This has to stop, she vowed. The next day, Mary began going door to door, speaking to the women of Umweze. Some slammed their doors in her face, muttering curses and bad luck. Others listened, their eyes wide with fear. She managed to gather a small group of women in the church hall. Armed with nothing but her voice, she addressed them. Breast cancer is not a curse, she began, her voice steady but urgent. It's a disease, and like most diseases, it can be treated if you act fast. Not all lumps are cancerous, but you must never ignore them. Early detection saves lives. The women whispered among themselves. They didn't seem to believe her. Finally, an elderly woman stood up. Young lady, she said, her tone sharp. You're just a student. You're not even a doctor. Why should we listen to you? Mary's heart pounded, but she stood her ground. I may not be a doctor, but I am studying to become a public health leader. And I know this. Women are dying because no one is giving them a chance to fight. I refuse to stand by and do nothing. Days turned into weeks as Mary organized free health awareness sessions for the women. She taught them how to check for lumps and showed them how to look for dimpling, redness, and discharge. She explained that not every lump was cancerous, but every lump needs medical attention. As the community began to trust her, Nneka, a woman in her 40s, approached Mary in tears. She confided in Mary that she had been having all the symptoms Mary mentioned during the awareness. Nneka was very scared and wondered if it was already too late. It's never too late, Nneka, but we must act quickly, Mary counseled, fighting back tears. The next evening, Mary's grandmother, Nene, burst into the room. "Mary," she whispered, her voice shaking, "you need to come with me now." Mary followed Nene out into the night, the cool air biting at her skin. They walked quickly towards the village outskirts, where a small abandoned hut stood. A faint glow flickered from within. Mary's heart raced as they approached. Inside, she found 3 women huddled together, their faces lit by the dim light of an oil lamp. They looked scared to death. "These women came to me earlier," Nene explained. "They are too scared to go to the clinic. They say they have been threatened." Mary frowned. "Threatened? By who?" One of the women, her voice barely audible, said, "The elders. They warned us not to talk to you anymore. Not to spread this sickness. They say you are inviting bad spirits to the village." Mary's blood ran cold. "Bad spirits? I am trying to save lives, for goodness sake." Another woman, clutching her chest as if in pain, added, "They said if we don't stop, they will curse us. We don't know what to do." Mary clenched her fist, trying so hard to control her anger. "No one will curse you. These are lies to keep you silent. But we have to act now." Mary convinced the women to let her arrange secret transport to a clinic in the next town. But as they left the hut, shadows shifted in the distance, and a low voice called out, "Mary, stop this now, or you will regret it." Mary turned sharply, but the figure melted into the darkness. Her heart pounded, but she stood firm. For the first time, Mary realized that her fight wasn't just against ignorance. It was against fear itself, deeply rooted in the hearts of her people. But no matter the threats, she wouldn't abandon her mission. With the help of a doctor from a nearby town, Mary arranged for Nneka and a handful of women to travel for medical attention. But on the way back, tragedy struck. Their vehicle skidded off the road during the rainstorm, and Nneka was critically injured. She succumbed to her injuries and passed away days later. The village was plunged into mourning once again. Mary felt defeated, her spirit crushed under the weight of Nneka's death. One night, as she sat alone, a knock on the door startled her. An old woman with piercing eyes stood in the doorway. "You did well, child," the woman said, her voice calm and low. "Who are you?" Mary asked. The woman smiled faintly. "That doesn't matter. What matters is that you keep fighting. You have planted a seed here. It will grow, even if you don't see it now." Before Mary could respond, the woman turned and disappeared into the night. Weeks later, Mary returned to the city, still haunted by the events in Umueze. But then the letters started arriving. Handwritten notes from women in the village, thanking her for giving them hope, for teaching them to fight. One note stood out. It was from Uche. It read, Mary, you are a lifesaver. I found the lump, but because of everything you taught us, I didn't wait. The lump has been removed, and test results confirm that there is currently no trace of cancer. Thank you for being our light. Mary clutched the letter to her chest, tears streaming down her face. She wasn't done fighting for Umweze, for herself, and for the countless women still living in the shadows of fear. The war wasn't over, but Mary was ready. And somewhere in the depths of her heart, she knew she wasn't fighting alone.